So at this stage of development, I was focusing on the user interface aspects of the project. First, I was working on the menus, making sure they had functionality, making sure the pause was set up right. Here I'm actually adding some new widgets to the viewport, making sure those are going to be functional for the end game. I'm actually just aligning them, making sure they are as equal as I get to see them. Make sure the buttons are actually functional in the scene, and everything is saying what it needs to say and connecting where it needs to connect. Here, I'm starting work on the Interact widget, which basically is a widget that overlaps the player's viewport, which allows them to see a prompt when they're supposed to be interacting with something. Things like doors, energy sources in the game, or maybe a prompt to collect another object in the game. These would only appear when the player overlaps with those trigger boxes that are set up throughout the game. And they are only added on a player begin overlap, and then disabled when the player leaves the overlap. Through this, they are able to see the prompt when they are able to push the prompt, and the prompt goes away when they are not able to interact with the prompt anymore. It would kind of be pointless to have the prompt still be around and they can't interact with the prompt. So that's basically what I was working on at this point. Setting up all the widget blueprints for those. I believe I had one for the door, one that says the door is locked and to enter the code, and one to actually have the widgets, or the energy sources. Say I think they has like press E to interact with them and pick up the object. And through this, you're actually able to see. After that, the object in your inventory because you interacted with it. So. Finally, at this part in the UI development process, I began work on creating the inventory system that's present in the game. This actually was the biggest UI asset that I had in the game, just because it took the most time to develop, the most moving parts, the most assembly code, and the most blueprinting that ran through multiple different functions and classes at the same time. Through this, I essentially worked on creating the inventory component, which is actually attached to the player, a different slot structure that helps organize the different items in the game, creating different items in the game, such as like independent energy sources. Each energy source is its own independent game object, or game item rather, that the player is interactable with, and the player is actually able to pick it up and see it in their inventory. Through this, I'm actually able to allow the player to fire off an action mapping that allows them to interact with the object, pull up the inventory that way, and see the objects present in their inventory at that time. The inventory is a continuous checking system, and so it is continually checking if anything is being added to the inventory, basically similar to like an update function in Unity, where the update function is essentially running the entire time the player is interacting with the game, because at any moment they could pick up that object, and that would cue the energy source to be then added to their inventory. Through this, they're able to have full access to the functionality of the inventory system, able to assign different objects different values depending on where in the inventory you want them to be placed, what value you want associated with them, what information you want displayed. I just chose for a thumbnail to be projected of the object. So the thumbnail is actually drawn out from that object's, from the slot structure. It actually sees the thumbnail of that object, takes the thumbnail, and then projects that into one of the slots in the inventory component.